So the first thing that we should probably react to is Monday Night Football. Jets at 49ers, final score 32-19. And like we went over in the intro for the game, 49ers banged up on defense. Brandon Ayuk drama, Trent Williams drama. CMC ended up not playing, and absolutely none of that matters because the 49ers are just really good. I was wrong. Debo looked really good. Jordan Mason, undrafted out of Georgia Tech, 28 carries, 147 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, he looked elite. I was wrong. They're a really good football team. I think they continue to get better as well. BA had a few drops. You could tell that he was like a little bit rusty. On the other side of things, the Jets, the first thing I want to bring up, and I don't know if you listened to the Bill Simmons pod, I just watched the Jets clip. Bob Saleh, 18-34 out of 201 coaches that have coached 50 plus games. He's 183rd all time in winning percentage. That's bottom 20. I feel like my takeaway from this game on Monday night was the Jets really should have went out and tried to get a new OC, because I don't think Hackett is going to be able to get them over the hump. And then from a head coach perspective, this is what makes them a super card wild card team and not a Super Bowl team. I know that might be a little bit of an overreaction, but just from like a coaching perspective, I don't think they have what it takes to get to the big game. What was your reaction of the game from the Niners side and the Jets side?
Yeah, I mean, Niners side absolutely looked like there was no hangover whatsoever. No CMC, didn't matter at all. Jordan Mason came in, and it looked like their offense really didn't miss a beat. I agree with your Ayuk take. He did look a little rusty. He did drop a touchdown. It would have been a tough play if he caught that pass, but
For sure.
That's a play that a guy like that I would expect him to make.
A guy who makes $30+ million a year,
correct.
You expect him to make a play like that?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
But yeah, all of that was spot on. From the Niners side, from the Jets side, I don't know if just the Niners were that good on offense, or if this Jets defense has taken a step back going into it. We all thought that defense was going to be really good, and there's still plenty of time for that. But in a game like this, even though it is week one, this is a situation where, all right, your quarterback is coming back after an Achilles injury, hasn't played football in a year. You're going to need your defense to step up, because I would expect there to be rust from Rodgers, and I think that's what we saw. I don't know if it was a play calling issue, if it was a Aaron Rodgers rust issue, getting back into the swing of things, but it felt like they had an advantage with Garrett Wilson out there at wide receiver, and it didn't feel like they took nearly as much advantage of that. It felt like they were really trying to force feed the run game, and I don't think that played into their favor by any means, and we clearly saw how that played out. And then also, Aaron Rodgers only threw the football to the left side of the field the entire game, which was really weird. I don't know if that was by design, then that's an absolute coaching flaw. But if that was Aaron Rodgers trying to get back into the swing of things, I would probably be a little concerned about that. I understand it's his first game back, but if you're only throwing the football to one side of the field, it makes you even more predictable on offense. But yeah, I think it's time to panic if you're the Jets? No. But I need to see a more put together game this upcoming week.
The thing that I pointed out about Bob Saleh's coaching record is just, I'm not panicking on the Jets. I still think they're going to be a really good football team. I still think that they're going to be a playoff team. I still think that they can win a playoff game. But something of note is those little things that you said. I do think the defense got worse. Their defensive line's obviously a lot worse. It's time to pay Hassan Reddick, get him back in the building. No question there. You have to do it. They didn't get enough pressure on Purdy. You need to get him back in the building. Second, they lost a lot of guys on the defensive line. I think that's just going to be a weaker area for them this season. And I just don't like Nate Hackett. I don't think he has it. I know that Rodgers doesn't like to get challenged and do his own thing, but like you said, he threw the ball to the left side of the field every single time. Maybe it's not the worst idea in the world to get an offensive guru in the building and challenge Rodgers to maybe open it up a little bit more. Another thing I didn't like about the Jets is they were so married to the run game with Brees Hall. Listen, on Brees Hall, I think he's extremely talented and extremely good, but Fred Warner was eating their lunch, and
Yeah.
the run game clearly wasn't doing what they wanted it to do for them. And that's obvious because of the way the game played out. I would have loved to see them probably abandon that a little bit earlier and have Rodgers air it out more, but that's just not the way it went. And like you said, it's week one. We're not overreacting, but my takeaway is definitely like I feel a little bit worse about picking them to win the Super Bowl.
I mean, I think that's totally fair. I don't know what I think the record, the record as a head coach is kind of misleading because he hasn't had a competent quarterback in there as he's been the head coach of the Jets. Um, so I think that is kind of misleading, but either way, still not a great record. No, there's really no other way to spin that.
I'm not sitting here like one. I think at a point like I know
You are who you are.
I know the Zach Wilson thing didn't work out, but he was the second pick in the NFL draft. And I'm tired of like it's not like this was a guy that like was just taking a shot on in the 7th round and he just happened to be playing. Like no, like that was their guy. That's who they stamped of like that's our guy to go forward with this run, and it didn't work out. And I feel like at some point like you have to start taking like there's so many excuses made for Robert Saleh. I feel like the excuses need to stop. I just don't think he's that good of a head coach.
I think it's. I mean, I don't think he's like a phenomenal head coach. I don't even think he's good. I think he's very just middle of the pack. I don't even think they should have won as many games as they did last year, to
Well,
be honest.
we
But
have the numbers in front of us. He's bottom 20 all time in winning percentage.
I know, but that is deceiving. Like you can't have like
Is it?
Zach Wilson went to the Broncos and is the 4th string quarterback.
But that's not our fault. Like that's not anybody. That's not our fault. They chose him. That was their guy.
I know that, but was it the guy that Bob Saleh wanted?
Clearly, he's the head coach.
I don't know. But either way, he's got to be
Ultimately,
better. He's got to be better.
ultimately,
He's got to be better.
ultimately at the end of the day, his like tenure is going to be remembered as drafting Zach Wilson and having him as your quarterback and then getting old Aaron Rodgers. That is what is going to be remembered of Robert Saleh, whether he likes it or not. But
If this continues and they continue to suck, I agree.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I don't think that they're going to suck. I think that they'll be a wild card team, but like I said, I don't feel as good as I did picking them to win the Super Bowl as I do right now. And I think that there is a real conversation to be had about Bob Saleh as a head coach. Don't think he's that good. And I think that they absolutely, no matter what Aaron Rodgers thought should have happened this offseason, they should have went and got an offensive coordinator. Nate Hackett does not deserve a job right now at this time in the NFL.
Another thing that I wanted to ask you is, what is the deal with Mike Williams? I thought he was fully healthy. They just weren't incorporating him into the offense.
I mean, Mike Williams is what, 30 years old. He's hurt every single season he plays, and he's just pretty much a deep threat merchant. Like I've never thought Mike Williams was like an overwhelmingly like great wide receiver. He's good at one thing, and if he pops off, he does. But I wasn't shocked by that at all. I wasn't looking at him to be an impact player for the Jets football team this season in any way, shape, or form.
I wasn't either, but I was still expecting him to be out there with the lack of depth that they have in that receiving room.
Well, he wasn't.
And maybe that's why they didn't throw the football, because they only have one guy to throw to. Although Garrett Wilson was getting open a lot, and I don't understand why they weren't trying to target him more. But
I mean, he had 11 targets.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It felt like he should have had 20. Like it felt like every time the ball that was like in his radius was eight, like that he had a chance to catch it.
Yeah, he did. I felt like that the 11 targets were there for him to be had. I just wasn't impressed with what I saw out of this offense. I mean, I know
Me
that
neither.
like Rodgers obviously threw a pick that got tipped. I'm not putting that on him at all. Brees
Mm-mm.
Hall had a fumble.
That
But
sucked. That was a
out
perfect play though by what Fred
Fred
Warner
Warner.
punched
Yeah,
that out. Yeah,
but
perfect
out
play.
but outside of that, I just wasn't overwhelmingly impressed with this offense. And I think that it comes down to a few things. I think Aaron Rodgers can still sling the pill. Like that's very obvious. I am
Yeah.
just questioning from like a game plan perspective, like how much is Nathaniel Hackett impacting it, and I don't think it's any.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair takeaway. That offense clearly looked really good that what for second drive, first drive. And then it felt like they just completely got away from that. And I don't know. I think the bigger concern out of this game, if you're a Jets fan, is what's going to happen with this defense, because that's at least Salah's saving grace is he can coach a defense, and if they suck on defense and or are nowhere close to as good as they were last year, I think that is when we really see the pressure get to him
I
as far
still
as like hot seat discussions. I think he has to win this year, but I think the hot seat turns up if that defense is bad.
Oh, he's on. I mean, if he's on the hot seat regardless, if they don't win a playoff game, he gets fired. That's like a well known thing. But I think that
I'm
like,
saying it happens even earlier than that if this defense is bad.
yeah, I agree. I don't think the defense is going to be bad. I just think that like it was a bad matchup for them. You just went against a team who is probably the most high powered offense in the entire league with some really great players all over the field. And like, that's just what happens when you play one of the best offenses in the entire league. So I think that they have a great run scheme, and that is like what got exploited against the Jets. I'm not worried about this defense at all. I just think that like we should have sniffed this out first game of the season. They just got toyed with by one of the best teams in the NFL. There's really not
Yeah,
much more
we
to it
should
than that.
have.
But I
Yeah,
don't
we
think the one thing that I'm not worried about is like this defense. Like I still think Sauce Gardner is really good. I still think they have a ton of talent in the secondary. I still think their linebackers are really good. Quentin Williams is one of the best D tackles in the entire NFL. They just need to figure a few things out, and they need to get Hassan Reddick back in the building. That's really all there is to it, in my head at
yeah,
least.
they they needed to figure out how to generate more pressure, and they couldn't do it. So I think the biggest winner, aside from, I mean, Jordan Mason looked incredible,
He
but
did.
aside from him, I think the biggest winner is Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, he just needs to come play football, and uh, like they need to get him in the building. I just don't understand. I guess like too many games have been played with that situation. Like, should never go into a season like with that hanging over your head. Like, just get it figured out. But yeah, you're probably right. My biggest winner is the 49ers. I mean, they look great. Um, like I said, I still think that they have. I mean, I don't. It's not. I think that they have room. They do have room to get better. Christian McCaffrey didn't play.
Yeah,
Brandon Ayuk didn't practice all off season, and you could tell like he looked a little bit rusty. Trent Williams like didn't play all off season. He's probably going to get back into the swing of things. I think Brock Purdy looked really good. He
yeah,
continues to get better every single time he steps onto the football field. And he does nothing but win football games. So he's just like, I just think the Niners are in a way better place than I probably thought they were going to be at to start the year. And they shut me up extremely quick by coming out and just handling business and dominating.
yeah, yeah. That the score was honestly pretty deceiving because the Niners were pretty dominant that entire game.
Any other takeaways that you want to have from this game?
No, no, I think actually I have one other thing. Why is everybody going with like the super baggy
I love it.
jersey sleeves?
It looks so clean.
I don't know. It might take a little bit for me to get used to, but my initial thought is I'm not sure. how I feel about it.
It
I think I
looks
like the Jameson Williams look a little better, where he has the baggy sleeves, like the baggy undershirt. I don't know if I
I
like the baggy jersey.
I think it looks clean. I think Sauce and Garrett Wilson looked so clean with the baggy sleeves.
I think Rodgers had it too.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's different with Rodgers. I thought Garrett Wilson looked super tough. He's skinny as all hell.
He's literally so skinny.
Anything else that you have for this game?
No, that was the last thing.
White clouds blowing out when we max 4-5, not the size, but it kick up high line.